A man without whom you probably would not be watching France 24 today. Ted Turner, the founder of CNN, has died at the age of 87. He revolutionized the way Americans, and indeed all of us, consume news, pioneering the model we know and some of us love, that is, rolling 24-hour news. He was a brash and sometimes a controversial figure, and our own Douglas Herbert worked at CNN for a period of time when Ted Turner was there, Doug. Well, I won't give away your age, but I do want to talk to you about somebody else who knew Ted Turner rather well, too. Donald Trump, a man who also famously loves cable news. He's just said Ted Turner was one of the greats of broadcasting history.
Yeah, he elevated Ted Turner. You buried the lead there, Nadia. He took a swipe at CNN because Ted Turner actually sold CNN to Time Warner, and then it's been passed on several times since then, back in 1996. So he says that the media empire that he created was basically destroyed, all but destroyed, as Trump put it, by the people who inherited Ted Turner's proud legacy. But look, all that aside, yeah, you're absolutely right. Ted Turner, it's not an understatement to say exactly what Time magazine wrote back in 1991 when they named Ted Turner the Man of the Year. Back then it wasn't Person of the Year, it was Man of the Year. And they basically said he changed the definition of news, what we think of as news, from something that has happened to something that is happening right here, right now, in real time, that we can watch. It seems like a no-brainer today, right? Our eyes are glued to a million social media platforms. Everything's being streamed live. News is all over the place. You can't get away from it. You can't escape. But that was a novel concept back in the 80s. Well, actually the 70s, because Ted Turner, CNN went on the air in 1980. And then it's sort of other networks were formed afterwards. But what's fascinating about it is this sense that he used to go home. He worked a job where you'd get home and all of the news networks in the U.S. put their news. It was 1 hour, half-hour broadcast at 6:30 p.m. on the East Coast of the U.S. He'd get home too late and he missed the news. It's like, well, what happened? If you worked too late, you didn't know the news. He thought this is ridiculous. He thought that he wanted to, as he saw it, enhance Americans' understanding of global events, of the world around them. You might say, okay, well, given today, he did a great job or a horrible job. But he invented that concept of basically being able to watch world events unraveling in real time, having a television camera there. And it was picked up by just about everyone under the sun. But I will just mention that it was his passion, news, and cable news especially, but it was one of many passions.
It was indeed. So tell us a bit more about his world outside of cable news.
He was known really for, he bought a baseball team in the United States, the Atlanta Braves. He was basically a sports and entertainment guy, cartoon networks. He loved he got into the news sort of in a very roundabout way. He was really, if you were an inventor of novel concepts, especially when it came to the media, and spreading all sorts of programming across American screens. That was part of who he was. But he was also, a philanthropist, right? He gave to a lot of causes. He was one of the early environmentalists. Before that was, the thing to do. And today trashed as being woke, right? But he was an environmentalist. He helped to reintroduce the American bison to the west of America. He was a multifaceted man, to put it mildly. He was an eccentric man, and he was brash, as you correctly said. He was called the Mouth of the South, and that was not for no reason. But I do remember when I arrived at CNN, it was 1997. Okay, I'm sort of giving away my age, right? And he had just a year before, a few months before I got there, he had actually passed on the mantle of CNN to an organization then known as Time Warner. He remained on, however, at Time Warner as a vice president. So he was still technically, I guess I could say, he was my boss. Technically, and in those early days, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but one of his eccentricities is he had given up smoking. So he put in everyone's contract, no tobacco. You can't use tobacco if you're a CNN employee. You can imagine how many of us stuck to that one early on. I think even Ted huffed and puffed on Havana cigars. So he was an eccentric guy, but he was a phenomenon. And even Rupert Murdoch admired the guy, even if they were arch rivals in many respects.
Yeah, and those of us here at France 24 may not be here today were it not for
absolutely. That's fair to say.
The pioneering sort of vision of Ted Turner. Thank you very much, Douglas Herbert, for us there.